The Chief Baseball Officer of the Boston Red Sox, joins us this morning. Hello, Craig Breslow.
Hello and good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Yes, a shutout yesterday will do that.
Yeah, I think certainly good way to start with last night. Before that, though, I would ask if, in your experience so far, you think Sam Kennedy is overachieving or underachieving as your boss.
If I have learned anything, it's to abstain from these conversations.
Well, it's the 6 a.m. show. You know how
Right.
it goes.
Craig, but when you look at where this team is during the season right now, they were identical up to this point last year, 31-31. Do you feel like your record, obviously you feel like this team should be better than what the record is, and do you feel like a big part of that is because of the injuries?
So it's an interesting question, and I will certainly choose my words carefully here. You know, when you think about overachieving or what your expectations are, I think we're 62 games into the season, and we were to go, play the same 62 again. Do I think we would win more or fewer than we have? And I do think that there's an argument that we would win more games, if you look at the run differential and some expectations and injuries that we've had to overcome. But I don't think that means that we're necessarily underperforming. I think it's just, the nature of how our team is constructed and the performances that we've gotten, particularly on the pitching side, have kept us in games. And so, I think it's probably more important from my end to think about the progress that we're making and thinking about the way that the roster is coming together and the steps forward that we've seen from some of the younger guys that we've talked about through the offseason and needing to see them take a step forward. So hard to, kind of pin down what the right answer is there outside of saying, look, we are 31-31. We're a 500 team. There's no way around that right now. But I think we've been in a bunch of games. There are definitely, kind of rolls of the dice where we would have won more. And I think that shows up in some of the, things like run differential and, where the expected wins might be right now.
Is the hesitance in saying the team is about where you thought it was derived from the fact that you don't want to tell the fan base that this was always going to be a bridge year?
No, I think we've been pretty outspoken about wanting to understand exactly where our players were, to build toward the future, about being unwilling to trade future wins for now wins. I think our players and our staff are working really hard and very deliberately every day to identify the opportunities to develop and to focus on those. And I think that's really important work. So I would want to highlight that. And I think this idea of, either saying we're underachieving or overachieving takes away some of the work and some of the controllables that we face every day.
Craig, Chris Martin being put on IL due to anxiety. You bring up the fact that you guys are at 500 right now. You're dealing with a lot of injuries. So clearly showing that the organization puts your players' mental health first and foremost. I think that maybe 5-10 years ago, that wouldn't be the case. Is that the organization's goal, is to let your players know that you do care about what they're dealing with mentally, not just physically? And is that a change from your playing days?
Well, I think the Red Sox, because I was here as a player, I can certainly say this. I think the Red Sox have taken great steps to build resources, to build out a behavioral health program that can specifically address these types of challenges and help our players. I think baseball, I think sports, I think society has done a lot to try and destigmatize, mental health support. But to get back to your original question, absolutely, we need to do what's best for our players, and we need our players to know that we're going to prioritize them over our short-term performance. I think that that's critical. And I think at the end of the day, that when we have to make decisions, the first question that we ask is, kind of what is best for our players and what is best for the organization.
Craig, we had Liam Hendricks on the other day, and he talked about this team and the talent and injuries playing a factor in it. How important is it for the organization, for Alex Cora, for the players, to try not to do their best to not have the injuries become an excuse of maybe where you guys are, just trying to push the narrative. Don't let that be excuse for us to say we are where we are because of the injuries.
I think it's really important. It's easy to find excuses over the course of 162 games, especially when you don't win as many games as you want. But injuries aren't a reason that we can't go out and take extra ground balls or work in the cages or be completely attentive to our bullpens and compete every night. So I don't think we can ignore that injuries are something that we have to navigate, and that we've asked players to play out of position at times, to maybe find themselves at bat or on the mound during unfavorable matchups. But at the same time, those can't be an excuse. There are injuries throughout the league. And like I said, it's not going to change the focus that we need to have day to day on how we improve ourselves.
Hindsight being 2020, any tiny twinge of regret when the Chris Sale tribute video aired the other night? I got a chance to speak to Chris yesterday. I'm, happy that he's having the success that he's having. Is there a world in which I could have hoped he would have had it here, and we also have Von Grissom here? Sure. That obviously wasn't a possibility. I think regret is probably the wrong word, twinge of regret. I think it's more heightening my interest, my pursuit of winning a World Series in this position, here in Boston, understanding the impact that this team can have on the city and the way that the fans rally around championship teams here made me even hungrier to pursue that path here. Did Chris Sale share with you who his 3 favorite bands are?
So it turns out, I just wanted to check in with him for a couple minutes. We ended up talking for about an hour because I asked him his 3 favorite brands. He got stuck at 1.
Did he mention the Queen song "Bicycle" at any point?
Okay.
I will leave that alone.
Craig, Devers with 2 homers last night. I found it interesting, Alex Cora after saying that he felt like Devers wasn't locked in till a few weeks ago. Have you noticed that? Do you know a reason for that? And have you seen a big change in Devers from the beginning of the season to now?
Yeah, well, I think he's healthy right now. He had kind of the nagging things early on, and none of those rose to the level of an IL stint. But we had to be very careful with when he was playing and how often he was playing. I think he's completely healthy now. And when you see they locked in Devers, you see things like hitting balls below the zone and on the inner third, the other way over the monster. And that's not something that too many hitters on this planet can do. And obviously we're lucky and fortunate that he's on our team. And, he's such a presence in the middle of the order. He changes the way that other teams have to game plan. And so having, Rafi swing the bat the way he is right now, it changes the whole composition of our lineup.
Craig, we've been over the Chris Sale trade, and we're not going to reestablish that this morning, but you've said you don't regret it. So why won't the Red Sox trade Nick Pivetta before the deadline?
I don't think it makes a ton of sense right now to commit to a path at the deadline, that's more than a month away. I think we're still acquiring information. And then, as it gets closer, we'll evaluate the opportunities in front of us, and what makes the most sense in terms of how we value the current season and the chances to contend for a postseason berth in 2024, and then the impact that those decisions may have on 2025 and 2026.
But using the method that you have to build this team, that you're not going to sacrifice future years, this would be sacrificing future years for this season for Nick Pivetta, because at the end of the year, he'll be a free agent and maybe he'll sign here, but he could still sign here even if you trade him elsewhere.
Sure. And obviously that becomes Nick's right, having earned the chance to get to free agency. But, I think in my seat, my job is to evaluate all of the options and kind of assess what is the impact on the 2024 roster by making a trade that would constitute kind of a sell side versus a buy, and we will do what is best for the organization. That's what I'm anchored in, and if that means that there are short-term assets that we can exchange for future value, and that's what makes sense given where we are and what the probability of us making the playoffs are relative to the rest of the league, then that's the difficult decision that I will have to make.
All right, Craig, NBA Finals prediction from you. Who wins? How many games?
Celtics, obviously. I'll say 6.
Oh, all right. You and I, simpatico on that. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you, Craig Breslow. We will talk to you again soon.
You've got it. Thanks. Take care.